On the radio, John Cummings is a good guy, former New York City police officer, public school teacher. Look at this guy. And a Republican candidate for Congress in New York's 14th district. John, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing this morning?
I'm doing great, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for your service, man. You're a police officer, a public school teacher. How's the whole thing going? I mean, I know you were just endorsed by the Conservative Party. Congratulations. Let's start there. That's a good thing.
It really is. It's quite humbling. You know, I come from the outside. Obviously, I'm not a politician. As you said, I'm a school teacher, although I teach Catholic high school. I'm at St. Raymond's in the Bronx. But I've been doing that for 22 years. I was a police officer for 8.5 years. And for a state party to get behind you, you know, first the local districts did it. The Bronx Conservative Party with Bill Newmark did it first, and then Queens with Tom Long, they did it second, and then Jerry Kassar put the entire state behind me. And like I said, that's quite humbling coming from where I came from.
It's true. Now I know you're well positioned in the Republican primary, but if you do not end up winning the Republican nomination, John, are you going to stay in the race as the Conservative Party candidate?
I would think so, although I haven't even thought about that, to be honest with you, Joe. I just want to get on the ballot and get our points out there and make people realize that there is certainly a role for common sense representation in the Congress. You know, my big selling point is that I am you. That's our campaign slogan. I've lived and or worked in the district my entire life. I've served the people of New York City for 30 years, and now I just like to do it at a different level. So I'm just taking it, you know, I'll give you the typical cliche. I'm taking it a day at a time and moving forward, and hopefully we can go right to the general election.
Yeah, we're still trying to make sense of bail reform, man. It's been a disaster for New York, right, John?
It really has, and you know, I still have friends on the police department, obviously, and when you live in the boroughs like I do and like the people in my district do, you see the results on a daily basis. And I don't think anybody would argue with the fact that there needed to be some bail reform, but when you look at what happened and the fact that there was no real input from local law enforcement anywhere around the state, from prosecutors, from defense attorneys, from judges, if you wanted to do something properly, that's the way you address it. And it seems as if they just went up there, wrote some legislation, and threw it out to the wolves. And you can see, if you look at the crime statistics, you know, I teach a criminal justice class here at St. Raymond's, and we put the crime statistics up on the board for the last couple of weeks. And you notice that, you know, the major crimes, you know, murder, et cetera, are still the same. They're actually down a bit. But when you look at the crimes that people are being arrested for and then being released immediately, robbery, burglary, those crime stats are way up. So, you know, you can see that there's an immediate change, an immediate result of this very poor policy that was passed. And I think even Commissioner Shea said the same thing. So, you know, it's definitely having a negative effect all around the state.
Yeah, John Cummings, this is the man. He was an officer in the NYPD, public school teacher. Are you teaching class like you still like this today? You have classes today?
Yeah, I have class at 8:40.
Look at you, man!
Still teaching full time. Still announcing basketball up in Connecticut. Still singing on the side and campaigning. You know.
God bless you, brother. You know, hey, John, we're seeing that the top surrogate for Bernie Sanders in Iowa is AOC herself. I mean, how do your constituents feel about all the time she's spending in Iowa instead of Queens and the Bronx?
Well, one of the things that was quite obvious is that she's not around. She doesn't really have an office in the Bronx. But, you know, when you miss events like the Throgs Neck Veterans Day Parade because you're in Iowa, that's a problem.
Yeah,
you know, I get you want to go out and campaign a little. I get that, but when you have something as important as the Veterans Day Parade, which in the Bronx is really a big deal, when you're missing events like that because you want to go campaign for Bernie Sanders, I think you're just misreading the people in the district.
Yeah, John, you think she might be in danger of taking her eye off the ball and taking her own reelection for granted? Do you think?
It's very possible. I mean, that's pretty much how she got in, is because Congressman Crowley took his eye off the ball. So perhaps, you know, she's not paying enough attention to the district. I don't really think that she's interested in local representation. She's done a great job creating a national persona for herself, but she's not really a person who's around a lot. You know, she does these town halls. She comes in, it's like a hit and run, and then she's back out on the campaign trail. You know, she's in Iowa, she's in California, she's everywhere but in the Bronx and Queens.
Yeah, John, where can we find out more about your campaign?
We're at Cummings2020.com. Cummings2020.com. I have to say, like I said before, you know, getting the endorsements is quite humbling, but the fact that over 21,000 people have donated to our campaign to me is just unbelievable.
Well, this is a good common sense guy. John Cummings is his name, former New York City police officer, public school teacher, and the Republican candidate for Congress in New York's 14th district. John, always great to have you on the show, man. Godspeed, and we'll talk soon, my friend.
All right, Joe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. John Cummings right there.